There we go, that's better. Hello, afternoon. How are you all doing? I think we're all good. We're all good to go. I pressed the right buttons in the right order. Let's see, how's everybody doing? Tuesday tutorial with Bead Spider. I'm Jo. If you've not joined in before, welcome. We've got some pretty little star demo today for you with some lovely 6mm glass pearl beads and some seed beads. And the idea is just to build up these stars, build as many as you like, and then you can come along and pop them all together. We're going to create as we go along a little bit today as well, so hopefully you'll enjoy a bit of that. So have some input as well. What else have we got going on? We've got a bit of grey sky, a bit of sunshine today. It's got a little bit blustery every now and then. I'm joined by one of my pretty cats. Hello, you can say hello. Let's see, this might work, this might not work. Okay. Right, this is Spirit or Spirit. And she is my little shadow. So she quite often sits in here. They behaves quite nicely and quietly, don't you? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Good girl. Right. She'll probably sit there for the rest of the time. Or she might now know she can come on the camera. She might be want to be a TV star and come and join me. She'll probably get more fans than me. As our animals are big parts of our life, aren't they? What have we got going on today? Hi, Carol. Hi, all, she says. Nancy says, hi, everyone from Annville, Pennsylvania. And we've got Monica joining us saying, hello, everyone. Stephanie, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Yes, it's a good day. Tuesdays are good. Much better than a Monday. Monica says, oh, so cute, cat. Thank you, Monica. Hi, Joe from Irina, all the way from sunny Bermuda, Croatia. Beautiful. How's the weather with all of you at the moment? We've got quite a bit of a mixed bag, I'm going to say. Looking at the forecast for the week ahead, we could have all sorts of things going on. So there we go. Right, let's show you what we're going to be playing with today and see what you think. Let's switch this down to my bead mat. And as you can see, I've been making a few more this morning. So we've got some pinky versions and the bluey versions. And obviously you can choose all your own colours. Now, when you have a look at the website a bit later, if you choose to, we've got some wonderful bead bundles on the go for you. So there's a collection of 6 strands of the 6mm glass pearls, which we've been using on these ones here. And you also get with the bundle the 2 sizes of the size 10 seed bead and one of the size 8 seed bead. Did I say 2 of the size 10? I can't remember now. 20 meters of the bead spider long. Let's get the right words. Gosh, I don't know what's going on with me today. Not enough coffee, I think. Right. So these are the little stars, and let's just bring one a little bit closer for you to have a look at. There we go. So quite simple design. They don't take very long to bead. Once you've done one and you've got the hang of it, you'll be beading in could be about 10-15 minutes maybe once you get going to each one. They are, as we go through, they're reinforced a little bit to give them some stability, and then it's a choice of what you want to make with them. So that's the blue one. Here we go with the pinky version as well. So these are a real sort of pale rose pink, these beads. It's not showing too well on against my skin there. I went for a matching nail varnish. What do you think of these things? Okay, so there we go. We've got another Lucy from Georgia, USA. Thank you, Lucy, for joining it. Okay, so making these little stars, it's nice to come up with little elements sometimes that you can then incorporate into other jewellery pieces that you make. Also, with these, I've been thinking sort of like the rings, the bracelets, the necklaces, earrings. Obviously, they're going to lend themselves really nicely to earrings. You could also attach them to hair bands and hair slides. Although if you're like myself with the longer hair, they can get caught a little bit around there, but not too much. So it might be a nice idea to give a go. You could pop them onto key rings, perhaps. And I have done a ring as well to show you, so we'll have a look at that a bit later. Jennifer says hello from New Mexico. Linda, afternoon from Scotland. Afternoon. Oh, my husband's up in Scotland at the moment in one of those little islands out to the west. I can't say the name of the island, but I know he flew into Benbecula the other morning. So he's a long way away. He's getting all sorts of weather as well up there, I suspect. Aniko says hello from Montreal, Canada. Very welcome indeed. It's lovely to see you all. So let's get on with a bit of a demo. So we're going to make one of these little stars, and then we're going to have a little journey together really about what we can do with it. So if you've got suggestions, pop them in, and it would be lovely to hear your thoughts. What instantly, when you see this little beaded element, what do you think? What's your first thoughts for a piece of jewellery? Or maybe not jewellery, maybe it could be a sun catcher or a tree. You've got the trees of life symbol, but you could include stars and things into those as well. Okay, so let's make a start on this. So say we've got the 6mm glass pearl beads here. I've got these two colours, which is a beautiful dark blue, I'm going to say, but it's got a sort of greyish blue about it, and this rose pink. Stunning. You're going to have lots to choose from. If you buy the bundles, you've got, say, 6 colours in the bundles and multitude of colours to play with. Okay, so we're using a spider-on thread, and those of you that have bought from Bead Spider before will know when you buy your thread, there's 20 meters on one of these spools. You also get included your needle, so always good to have more needles. I don't know about you, but my needles tend to end up looking like boomerangs after a period of beading. So my beads I've already laid out here ready. So we've got the size 8, and on this particular, because you've got with your bundles, you've got 2 colours, I should say, in the size 10, and you've got 1 colour in the size 8. Okay, so what you might also like to do is go into the website and look at all the other size 10s and size 8s, and also put some of your own colours together with that. Okay, so if you want to know the particular ones I'm using today, this is number 59135, and that's the size 8, this one. And obviously there's lots and lots of colours on there. This is the opaque violet, rainbow violet. See, I said I'd get my words in a muddle today. And I've also got the metallic pewter. Just makes a change from like real shiny silver. And this lovely iris blue, which is number 61300. Okay. But you'll see when you go on the website, there are so many colours to choose from, and you can really make it your own, make it personal to your colours that you prefer to use. Okay, so as we say, I've got the size 8, and I've got the 3 size 10s here. Now I've only got the 3 colours out because I'm going to go through a couple of different stash options for you, and hopefully the 2 colourways will be easier to see on the screen as we go through it. All right. Okay, so I've got my about a metre of thread popped onto the needle here. Okay, nice and easy to thread these needles. The thread goes on beautifully. And I say I'm working with about a metre. That's normally standard for most of my beadwork. It just seems to work out that way. I did cut it down. I think I worked out you could use about 60 centimetres of thread per star. The only thing I would say is it leaves you with a small amount of thread and tail thread to actually work with at the end of the beading, and it takes your beading longer because you're fiddling around with a small amount of thread. So if you don't mind a little bit of wastage, just have a much longer piece, and say I usually go for about a metre. Just makes life easier. Okay, for the centre of the star, I'm using the silver here, and I'm going to pop 5 of these silver size 10 beads onto my needle like that. Okay, let's move that up a little bit further. I'll try and keep in camera view for you today. It shouldn't be that hard. But when you set at your own table and you bead away, you realise after a while, when you're crouched over looking at tiny little beads, you actually end up with them right under your nose. So your hands end up under your face and you're trying to bead very close to yourself, which is probably not good for you at all. And obviously, if you bead for a long time every day, it's worth just giving a little stretch to your arms and your back, stand up, move around a bit, get some blood flowing. Okay, so those little 5 beads, I've just gone round and tied a little overhand knot just to keep that secure. And then I'm just going to pop through the next 1 or 2 beads just so I move away from where that knot is. Okay. And what you're looking at is just to have those nicely sat next to each other, nice and tight. You don't want it floppy at this point because it will relate into a floppy piece at the end as well. Nobody likes a floppy bit. Right. So that's your 5 silvers. So that's the first colour. So each star involves 2 colours of the size 10, which is why the bundles have been done that way. Okay. So in between each of the silver beads here, we're going to pop in a size 10 in the blue. So I'm coming out of this bead here. I've got my blue on the needle and I'm passing through the next bead in the line. Okay, so there she is. She's added. Add another at the blue size 10. I'm just trying to hold on to my tail thread there just to try and keep the work nicely in my finger and thumb there. And obviously, with small bead work, your fingers and thumbs do get in the way a little bit. So next bead. So in this round of beadwork, we're adding 5 more seed beads in the second colour, which is the blue in this case. Okay, and into the last silver one. Okay, now as you do the silver one here, what you can also do at the same time is step up and go through the first blue bead that we added. Okay, so you're now stepping up into the second ring. So the first ring is a silver, the second is the blue ones. Okay, now between all these blue ones, okay, so we're now exiting from this blue, we're going to add a size 8. So these lovely bluey colour beads here, and these are going to sit between each of the size 10 blue beads. Okay, so there's the first one. Pop your next one on the needle through the next blue bead, and we're doing this all the way around. Nice and simple so far. Hopefully you're all doing that in your mind as well. Pop in another, and we're just working all the way around, and I'm just trying to keep the tail thread sort of down and out the way. I'll try and keep it on my finger there. Okay, and the last size 8 going on, and then you're going to go through that last blue, or the first blue that you put on in that ring, come up through that bead and pop your needle through the first of the size 8s that you added. Okay, if you're not comfortable, do that. Just come through the small blue one and then replace your needle to go through the large one. Okay, so we end up with this nice little shape here, which I quite like just on its own. It'd make a nice little element. You could stitch lots of these together, a bit like quilting with beads. I think you'd come up with a lovely fabric, stitching them all together using those size 8s. So then, you know, anyone that beads all the time, you are creating a pattern. You're also thinking about other patterns that you could use by repeating that pattern. So it's always worth to bear in mind. I mean, you could make lots of these and stitch them together and have them as a bracelet base or something like that. Okay, because this is a little star in its own right at this point. Okay, so we've got 3 rounds. We've got the silvers, the size 10 blue, and the size 8 blue. Okay, so it's all nicely Just there. Okay, hopefully you can see that all nice and clearly. Okay, well, we've got a few more comments coming up here. Thank you, everyone. Aniko says hello from Montreal, Canada. Linda says the sun is out today. Johnny Elm, my first thought is earrings. Brilliant, same wavelength. Florence, I think they would look good as earrings. Yep. Then Kitty, hi. Lucy's so pretty. And we got everyone saying it's all a nice day. Good. Okay, so we've done our 3 loops. So the next one, we are going to be adding a little pattern of beads at this point. We've got this sort of area to bridge now. So what I'm going to do is one of the silver size 10, one blue size 10, and one silver size 10. Okay, and that's coming out of this size 8 here, and then going into that next one in the round, and that's a size 8 there. Okay, so we are now just essentially just filling that little star shape, and again a silver, a blue, and a silver through the next size 8, a silver, a blue, and a silver, and again a silver, a blue, and a silver through the next size 8 in a row, and one last time a silver, 8, and a silver. I have to put my glasses on in a minute. I've been beading all morning and the eyes are just getting a little bit tired. So I'm going to come through that size 8 here, and that finishes off that round there. Okay, so we've now got this little pattern here. Okay, bit of reflection off the camera there. Those shiny blue beads are beautiful. Okay, so where we're coming out of that size 8, we're now looking to go to this middle size 10 blue bead here. So I'm going to pass my needle through the silver and the blue. Okay, so you're in the middle of that little cluster that we've just added here. Then we're going to effectively do a little picot of beads. So I'm going to add 3 of the size 10 blue beads, and I'm coming out of this bead upwards, and I want to come back round and push my needle through in the same direction that I was traveling in. Okay, and then I'm taking my needle through the next silver and to the next size 8 bead. Okay, so as I pull that round, there we go. You see that makes like a little picot, a set of 4 little blue beads. Okay. Mandy says good morning from Australia. Melbourne, that looks gorgeous. Thank you ever so much, Mandy. Thank you for tuning in. It's very early for you there. Okay, so on the next round, we could, if you wished, you could carry on round and go to each of the middle size 10 bead and do the little picot. But what I found is I'm going to do the one picot, and then I'm going to add the pearl onto this bead, and then do the picot and the pearl. And by going round twice, you strengthen the whole thing up. I don't need to go round the picot twice. Okay, this will make sense in a minute when we do the next stage. So I'm just going to pop it on the bead mat for the moment. Let's see if we can make that. I think I might be a bit too fuzzy if I do that. I'll just bring it up to the camera. I think because I'm trying to use the bead mat today, it's just a little bit fuzzy. So I'm coming out of the size 8 here. Let's just pick that back up again for you. Okay, so we've done our little picot. We've gone through the silver. We're coming out the size 8. I popped another size 8 on my thread. I'm just going to push that down, let that drop down to sit here. I'm going to add a glass pearl, which is a 6mm, onto my needle. I'm going to add another of the size 8 and another silver, and just let those down the thread. And as you now, we've got this little pattern going on here. Now this little silver bead on the end is going to act as my stopper bead. Okay, so I'm not going to pass my needle back through, so it's coming out this way. I'm going to miss the silver one and go through the size 8 pearl and 8 again in the other direction, and I'm coming out of this size 8 on this top side, and I'm now passing my needle back through the same bead in the same direction, so we're creating a little circle, and then just carefully pull the beads along. If you set it down, you can see there we go. I'm just gently holding on to this bead and letting the thread run. So the thread is running up around the stop bead and back down. And at this point, you just want to, if you can, just hold on to that little stop bead and give your thread a little pull. And we just want to keep the tension quite close. It's going to be floppy on this first round, okay? So that is the thread's coming up around the stopper bead, back down into the main body of our little star here. Okay, so again, we're coming out that size 10 blue bead, and this is where I'm going to do a little picot part. So I've added 3 more size 10 beads coming out this way, going in the same direction, and also picking up the silver and the next size 8. Okay, and as you pull that together, you get that little picot again. Okay, so now we're on the size 8. This is where we pick up our size 8, our glass pearl, another size 8, and again the silver for the stopper bead. Okay, run those all down through, and again just give your silver a little bit of space so we don't go back through the silver. We pass through the 8, the pearl, and the 8. There we go. Okay, and I'll just pick it up to make it easier. Keep them on the needle, and where the thread's coming out the top of that size 8. Okay, I'm now going to pass the needle through the size 8 again. Go through the silver and the size 10 blue one at the same time. Okay, when you're pulling the thread in and you're just making sure that you've got hold of your little stopper bead at the top here, and you're pulling this thread and you're giving it a nice little tight cord. At the point where it's winding itself in, just ensure that your thread doesn't accidentally get caught around one of the other beading elements, because if I'm using a blue thread and blue beads, it's not always easy to see that that's happened until you get to near the end and wonder why your beads aren't sitting quite as you want them to. And sometimes it's just the thread's got itself looped around one of these other elements and it's not pulling nicely. Okay, so I'm just trying to keep my tension tight at this point. Again, we're at the little size 10 blue, so I'm adding 3 more of those size 10 blues onto the needle. Again, coming out of the top of the bead, and then we're entering the same direction as the thread, going through the silver next to it and the next size 8. Okay, go our little picot bead. I love that little stitch. It's so cute. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that's all making sense. Mandy says, would you be able to tell me what time we are now? Okay, Mandy, right now it is 3:24, and we always start at 3 o'clock UK time, GMT. Okay, I think our clocks change the end of on Sunday, so we'll be an hour. We lose an hour of sleep. It's terrible, because our clocks go forward, so that will affect as well if you're watching from other parts of the world. Lucy said it looks kind of like a crown with the last bead. Absolutely. And Amber is coming in late. It's okay, Amber. We're just getting going. I'm sure you can see what's going on. Catch up. From Silver Hill, Alabama. Wonderful. Okay, so we are repeating this little pattern all the way round. I have made versions of this in silver as well, which I will show you a bit later. And it does look like a gorgeous little star, but it also, because I use silver and white together, it looked like a snowflake. So I will show you that one. Okay, so there's our little collection seed beads and glass pearls. Pop it down. I find it easier at this point, always put it down on the mat. And then I can make sure the needle's going through the beads. I'm not catching the thread. And passing the bead back up through that size 8, through the silver, and the next size 10 there. Okay. And this is the point where your threads can get a little bit caught up, so just be aware. You see that it's just trying now. You see that? It's just trying there to try and catch on that little picot bead. So just by taking the needle, encouraging it to step away from that bead. Okay, and again, if you just check your tension, hold on to that little bead and pull the thread in the direction we've just been beading. Okay, so it's building up quite nicely, and you could already see that component on its own, if you were to take some more beading in this sort of direction, that could make a really nice little pendant drop for a necklace. And so you just come up with these ideas as you're beading. Think about more ideas for the future, maybe not on this occasion, but it's worth sort of jotting it down, getting your mobile phone out and taking a picture just to remind yourself later on what you were thinking at that time. So when you get one of those days where you don't know what to bead, but you've got time to bead, you've got some ideas already. So here we are. We're just adding this little picot of the 3 beads. There. There we go. I'm just going to pull my thread up a bit because the towel's getting in the way there. Okay, so we're now on to this part here. So we're adding the size 8, the glass pearl, another size 8, and the little silver stopper. I've used the silver on the outer edge just for that little bit of sparkle and to tie in with the centre beads as well. So just something to bear in mind when you're coming up with your colour scheme, how to best use the beads. Okay, so through the size 8, through that silver, and the next blue in line. Okay, do you hear that? That's a really nice, satisfying little click. As everything lines up and goes into place. Okay, let's just give that a little tug. Okay. Last little picot. So enjoy this one. Again, the 3 beads. Back through that same bead. Also, while we're here, I'm just taking the needle through the next silver and the next 8 in line, so we're ready. Okay, and then we're just going to add on this last little element for the pearl. So the size 8, glass pearl, one more size 8, and the little silver. Okay, let them drop down. Pull the silver back so you can get access to those ones. Run your needle through those 3 so they're nicely there. A needle through the size 8. Okay. And at this point, I'm just taking the needle through the silver, the little blue, and the next silver. If you can do that, you can get all 4 of those beads on in one go. If not, don't worry about it. Just make sure you're through this size 8 and then replace the needle. Okay, just a nice little tug. Okay, so we have now done the 4 all the way round. Okay, and what you can see is it really is quite floppy. Okay, so to help it out, what we can do is run round. I mean, that would make quite a nice dangle if you were supported it in the middle, and then have it dangling from a head pin or something. It'd look like quite a nice little flower, sort of dangly flower. Okay, so reinforcing on this, I'm not worried about reinforcing this little picot stitch. I'm quite happy with them, but what I really need to do is reinforce all these little sticky out bits, little sprockets or something we could call them. Okay, so in the same manner, I'm just going to repeat the stitch. So I'm going to start without getting my thread caught around the back of the pearl. Okay, just pop them through. So I'm just going back into that size 8 in the main part of the element. And to reinforce, I'm going to follow the same pathway as before. So I'm going to go all the way up, pop out the silver bead at the top, bring a thread through, and then again miss the silver bead and come back down through the size 8, the pearl and the size 8. And give it a nice little tug. Okay, and then pop round. So I'm traveling in the same direction as I was earlier. And again, I'm going to go through the silver, the size 10 blue at the bottom of the little picot section we've got now. I'm not going to go round the picot. If you want to, absolutely, just go on round. Put your needle round it. It's only another 3 beads. Going through that silver to get back to the next size 8. And again, up through that. Up through all of the beads. Miss the silver one to step and come back down. Okay, so you're reinforcing that little section. And again, back into the base, through the size 8, through the silver, the small blue. So if you can get all the beads at this point, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just pop your needle back in where you need to get to. So I'm coming out the little blue. I want to go through the silver and the blue, size 8 there. This is the third one we're coming to now. So we're nearly there. So it doesn't take long at all. Once you've done a couple, you'll be doing it without thinking about it. The only thing you have to think about is what colours you might want to do. You might want to change the seed bead colours with different stars. Let's move that out of the way a bit. Okay. Just make sure it has gone through that silver one as well. And back down. All the way through those, back to the base part. Through the size 8, through the silver and the blue. Okay, just rearrange where you're holding it so you can get better access. Through the silver, through the blue. Okay, so we're always coming off of these larger beads for the framework of our star. Okay, so nearly there. This is the 4th one now. Just make sure I come through that silver one as well. And then back down. There we go. Almost the last one. You'll be glad to hear. So for those of you watching and you have your pets at home, do they sit and watch you bead? Do they try and join in? I don't know. I've never owned a dog. Maybe dogs just sit and watch patiently, where a cat will usually try to grab the thread. I guess it's all down to personalities. Okay, so that's just come out that last one there. And all I'm doing now is just looking, so it should be quite clear if you've lost count of how many spiky bits you've actually gone through. You should be able to look at the silver seed bead and work out if that's just one strand. Yeah, I think there's just one strand through this spiky bit, whereas that one I definitely can see we've got 2 strands. So if you have lost count, which is easy to do, especially if you're interrupted or something, or you just lost count, you should be able to see with this particular kind of colorway how many times you've gone up through a spike. It's not going to be so clear if you're using a thread that matches that top bead, but you should also feel it will be a little bit more. See, that one feels firmer to me. That one's definitely just wobbly. Okay. Let's see. If you're making these and they take you about 10 minutes a piece, you're probably going to know exactly which part you're on. Okay, and that's coming down there to the center, and we can see it's quite a lot. There's much more rigidity to it. It's not totally rigid. And I think if I wanted it to be a lot more firmer, I'm quite happy with that. It potentially is to just go back around and reinforce it again. If you wanted to be very stiff as cardboard kind of style, then yeah, I think you'd want to pass through all those sections again, and you should be able to do it with these beads and this thread. If it gets a bit tight on some of the smaller beads, you might have to swap for a narrower needle, but the thread itself will be fine. Okay, now I'm just gonna tie this off, and all I'm going to do is take the needle underneath through a section here, and I'm looking to tie my knot just in this little gap. I'm going to focus. So where you can see the thread just coming out of, I'm just going to do a little one overhand type knot just to keep the thread there in between those beads. So I've just got myself my loop, the needle through the loop, and just very carefully guide where you want that knot to happen. Okay. And that knot is just snug between the blue size 8 and that silver bead there. Okay, and it's quite nicely tied. If you want to just do that again, so create the loop, put your needle through the loop, and just gently pull it to make sure that knot is where you want it and it's not got caught up around any of these other pointy pieces. There we go. Okay, and then I'm just going to pass my needle up any of the beadwork just to take where I'm going to cut the thread away from where I just put that knot. Okay, so it's fine snips or scissors, just pull the thread, get in as close as you can and cut. Okay, what I might do on this end is take my needle and pop it on, leave yourself a longer tail thread perhaps. This bit's not essential because you've already got your knot in the middle. It's just a way of sort of tidying up. So I'm just looking as to where my thread was coming out, what bead, and it's going to be coming out of one of these silvers. So I'm just going to pop it through that small blue bead that's next to it. Okay. And then take it up. So I'm still following the original bead pattern, the thread pattern. And again, just taking that thread away from the original knot that we created at the start. Hold on to the thread, get close and snip. Okay, so there is our little star element. Okay, so this is where you just build up all your little stars until we got quite a nice little collection. But so when you actually do these and you get the hang of it and you're not worried about patterns and things, you know the routine and what beads you're using at what point, they don't take long at all to actually create. So hopefully that's nice and easy. If you want me to go through anything again, just give me a little comment there and I'll try and catch it. Well, we got Mandy. Okay, thank you. That makes it 2:22 a.m. in the morning my time. Cracky man. Do you work late shifts or early? Or I don't know. How come you're up at that time? Oh dear, Mandy. Sherry says hello everyone. Welcome, Shay. Lucy, as it is, it could be an earring. Yep, absolutely. Good morning from rainy Harker in Heights, Texas. Thank you for showing how to do this. You're very welcome, Lucy. That's what we're here for. Come up with ideas and hopefully inspire you to have a go. It's a really nice little project, this one, nice and simple. But you can obviously play with the patterns within the beads by putting the colours together slightly different. Christine says, sit, lay right down next to me. Oh, they're lovely, aren't they? What would we do about our pets? And me too. One of my dogs puts his head on my beading lap. He's just keeping an eye on your quality control, I think, Johnny. So my little dog tries to jump up on my lap, and sometimes he scatters my beads. Yes, therein lies an issue with animals and beads. They do tend to go all over the place. I don't know about the dogs, but the cats certainly like to try then to play with the beads all around the floor when you're trying to desperately gather them all together. Okay, Christine says it is 2 in the UK now, question mark. It's 11:30 a.m. in New York. All right, okay, so we are now at this moment in time. Look at the clock. It's 3:45 now, Christine. So hopefully that makes some sense. Do you see, Joe, how would you connect them together? Aha, here comes the next part. So I think we might overrun a little bit today, guys, so hopefully you don't mind. Because we've got lots of ideas for this. I've got a bit croaky. Hold on a second. Just a quick drink. Okay, so like I say, when we come up with these ideas, we have lots of ideas and buzzing around our head as to how could we possibly use them, what could we do with them. So different things. If I show you a few bits and we can go through making them if you wish. So we're saying about earrings. So here we go. This is something I done this morning with the idea of the earring. Now this used a piece of the tiger towel, and it's just one small piece. It's gone through the tip of one of these silver beads. Okay, and it's just beaded up using the same beads as what I was using in the star. The same colour of the pearl. The tiger towel is looped around with a crimp bead in there. Okay, so there we go. We've got our little crimp bead there, and there's our tiger towel forming the loop just there. Okay. So one very simple way of doing it. If you want to stick to needle and thread and not worry about the tiger towel, you could obviously, you could use it if you had a long enough piece of thread before we cut it away. It's just to come up to this end bead, create your loop with the spider-on thread, just reinforce it a couple of times, and then your ear finding could go straight through that thread, or you could add a jump ring up the top there with your thread that sits on the jump ring, and then you've got the option to change the ear finding itself. So that gives you an earring idea. Let's leave that one there for you. I was saying about creating rings with it. This took me a little while to do. But essentially, I have, let's keep those out of the way. There's the original star, which is one of the first ones I made, and I have, so you've got your main star feature, and this one has another pearl in the center of it, which was added later when I was creating the ring for it. So the ring shank itself is needle and thread with the seed beads, and I did count how many seed beads I'd put 22 seed beads here, which is the size 8. Then there's a pearl, a seed bead, pearl, seed bead, and a pearl. Okay. And then in order to have something for my star to sit against, I beaded partially round that middle pearl. Okay. And I used in this case, the purpley seed bead, but I used 5 rows of 6 seed beads, and it's going round and round this middle pearl just to give it a base. And then I've gone from the middle of those little seed beads up through the star, and in the same way as we were adding the spiky element, I've done the same thing here, and then just gone up and down a few times. So the star itself can still pivot round that center point. Okay, and I've made the ring, and I didn't measure myself, and as you can see, the only finger it's going to fit on is my little finger. My fingers have got quite chubby. Okay, so that's how that would work. It does stick out a bit. If I get a side profile there, you would catch it on a few things, but it's the idea, it's what you can work from. So maybe next time I wouldn't add the pearls underneath. I'd try a peyote band and stitch straight onto that. But it's always worth trying out ideas. I mean, maybe you could use that as a bit like a scarf ring. If you've got a small scarf, there's nice narrow ones you can get, and pop that round, pop just a knot on your scarf underneath, and then maybe that's just a small feature. So a different idea, worth a bit more playing with, I think. The other thought was to create for a necklace, and when you've got all your little stars laid out and you start playing with patterns, you're going to very quickly come to a point where you create a nice little pattern like that, and you think, well, okay, I like that. How am I going to turn this into a necklace? So the first thought would be, with your needle and thread, come through the points of the star and join the silver points together. Do a few loops, bead through your beadwork until you come out to your next point, whichever one it may be. It may be this one here, or you may choose to have that one there. I'd probably go for that one. Again, through here, a couple of loops around there to join those two, round your beadwork. And if you can keep your thread pattern in the same as when you were creating the star, you won't see any thread work going on. Then you'd create your next little loop to join those 2 silver seed beads together there. Okay, again, bead through, and then whichever pearl, there we go. So I'm looking at, I've got a point heading down this way. These 2, I've got the pearl in the center that's not holding on to anything. And then they would come here, and then I would probably pick these 2 pearls to be where my necklace would come from here. And it just depends visually what you prefer. You could also change that by beading these 2 points together. So you've gone from the little picot and joining it to the point of the star. And again, if you did the same on that side, so that one would join here. And maybe you would change the bottom piece as well. So you'd use one pearl up the center, not doing anything, but these would be joined on at this point, which looks a little bit more busy. I don't know. This is your design ideas. I think I would probably stick with joining the the silver ends, little stop beads that we were calling them at that point, and it would give you a lovely finish. So if you had more stars made up, I've got a few more here, not the right colour at this point, but you can see you could create a whole necklace in that kind of idea. So hopefully that answers a little bit of question. Other ideas for joining is using your beadwork. If you want them spaced out a little bit more, you could incorporate, when we started with the very, very first part of the star, the first two sections, and you've got like the small star, which is just this small section in the middle. If you were to bead those separately and then put those between each of these, that would spread those out a little bit more, so you wouldn't need as many to go around the neck. You could go for the next where you include the size 8 as well. Again, that would then stretch your design a little bit further. So each time here you can stretch the design. The other idea you might want to do is, maybe you don't want to do 2 colors, maybe you just want the one color star. So let's just use that one for a moment. Okay, so here we are, we've got all our ones, we've got the single pearl pointing out there, ignore that bit there. Or maybe that's the bottom star, maybe without the earring finding on the attached to it, that becomes a drop for something else. Okay, so different ideas when you're planning what to do with them. These are different ways. What you could do then is introduce either another pearl that goes between, and then you're just threading between the top tip beads and the pearl, and just creating like a figure 8 loop that would hold them very nicely. When you've got your bundles, you could also then obviously choose different color pearl, and then that goes between each of these sections. Okay, so different things to play with. I think this particular design, if I had some silver pearls, I might be inclined to put silver in between. I do like the blue and the pink together. I know it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, and depend who I was designing it for. I'd obviously keep them in mind. If it was for myself, I'd go blue and pink probably. Or say blue and silver, because then it goes with more things. But those are just ideas to keep in mind. You can see this down here without the earring bit on the end. Maybe you could have another star down there. So if I just move that up, maybe, if we imagine, well, that works quite well with pink spacer beads like that. Have a pink star at the bottom. But this is where you get to play. This is your idea now of what you want to do with it. So we got to love the stars. Man, this is gorgeous. And John says, beautiful. Thank you so much for the great ideas. You're very welcome. Other things we could do. I was playing with another stitch this morning, which I was basing on the center star to start with. And so it's very simple. It's like a daisy chain or a flat chenille stitch, I think. But I've used the same idea that we've got these little linking silver beads just through the middle. Okay. So you can see where you start with your element of your beads, and instead of 5 beads in the center, there's 4. But if you're considering, you could then take the idea that the silver linking bead is the same as your tip bead, and then your pattern follows throughout, and then maybe that becomes a very simple necklace. Yeah, put that one in. So I join with the tip of the silver into this piece of beadwork, and then maybe you only need the one. Maybe that becomes an earring. Okay, maybe that becomes the bracelet, where you just have another section of this on this side. Maybe you have 3 of these to form your bracelet, and then you just need to work out, oh, I don't know, there's our bracelet, Maybe we have one up and one down. Maybe we go for that, so you definitely have an up and a down side to the bracelet. That would also make a nice necklace. So just think about all the different beading techniques you already know regarding the strand as such, and then you can come up with different ways of putting the beads together. And hopefully that's got some good ideas out there for you. Adore, she says, great ideas. Thank you, Jo, for explanation on how to connect the stars. Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone out there that wants me just to go through connecting anything, I'm happy to do that. If I just show you quickly, do you want to see how to make this? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Let's see, I've got a needle and thread. It's a bit long for what we're going to do, but just let me show you that. So hopefully, I know we're going near our time, but if you're happy enough to stay with me for a bit, we'll do a little bit more. So they've used the size 8 as the basis for this as well, and it's 4 of those size 8s. Okay, and I'm just going to run them down to the end of the thread. Pop a little knot there. What I would say, because when I'm starting like a bracelet, I don't know what I'm doing with the ends necessarily to start with. So leave yourself a decent tail thread, and then you've got options of what you can do. And once I'd say decent, I'd probably leave myself a good 6 inches, probably longer than that, because I don't know if I'm going to bead a clasp or if I'm just going to join a jump ring on. Okay, so that's 4 together with a little knot to hold it. Pass back through one of those size 8s. Okay, so we've got our little cluster there. Then if I show you with the purple in between, it'll show up a little bit more. So add one size 10 purple, go through the size 8, add your next size 10 purple, go through the size 8 in a row, add the next one. It's really tricky beading this. It is such a pretty little pattern. Okay, and then through the next one. Okay, so that is all there is to it. That's the pattern. Okay, but what we want to do to join onto the next one, I'm just going to go through three of those beads, just because I'm getting away from where the original knot was. Okay, and doing the little link. Now, with this idea, because I've alternated the colour between the small blues and the purples, I've got a silver link in the middle. You can see that. Okay, so I'm coming out with the size 10 purple. I'm going to add a silver. So again, size 10. Come back through that same bead. So that's the silver one, and back down through that one. Okay, so those two beads are now nicely together. Okay, so they've literally just got a link. If you want to strengthen that link, just come back through and add another link. Okay, so those are now nicely tied together. And then I'm adding a small blue. Okay, again, pass the needle down in the same direction to add that blue. Okay, so this is forming our little link. Come back up through that blue, and this is where we start the second little element. Okay, so I need to add 4 of the size 8s. Okay, pop your bead map down. And what you're going to think is we're going to go through this bead. We're not. We have to leave that one at the moment. So we're coming out. We've added our beads, and this is going to form in a round. So what I need to do at this point is go back round. So back through all those size 8 beads. Bring the thread. If we just encourage it to come back round. Okay, and now you can come up through that blue bead, because I want the 8s to form a little cluster of their own, and if you go through the blue too soon on this blue, it will want to have 5 beads in that circle, whereas I only want 4. Okay, so that's how you make it separate. Okay, so as it's coming out the little blue, I'm going to go into 1, the first 8. Okay, and this is going to be a blue section, so add 1 small size 10 blue, go through the next 8, add the next size 10 blue, go through the size 8, and the next size blue, next one of those through the 8. Okay, and then we're back to this start, and now you can come through that blue again. Okay, so your joint is really quite nice and secure. Okay, now we just need to get to the other side, so I can come through the 8. I don't need to go through the small blue and just skip straight into that 8 there, and then I need that small blue on that side, because that forms the next section of our link. So in the same way, I'm coming out the blue, I add the silver for the linking piece, up through the same bead in the same direction, and again I just double up on that little connection that we created. And if it's a bracelet or even a necklace, I probably would recommend you doing that loop twice. Give it a bit, because that's lovely and flexible, maybe for an earring. Wear and tear, that would be where your weak link would be, in that section there. So you've got the silver, and then you'd alternate back to the purple. So at that point you would add the purple, come through twice, and there we go. Okay, and then we're ready for our next little loop. So that's how this little link here was created. So you see the scratches. This is what happens when you clean your kitchen and your bathroom with bleach, and then your little black cat comes for a cuddle, and for whatever reason she goes absolutely nutty with the smell of bleach, and then you have to try and get her off your hands. These awful paws start going in, and all the claws, and then the teeth. She just goes really weird. There we go. But that's a really, really dainty, pretty little piece. But this is where you could add on to your. Let's get back to the other one. Let's get back to this first one. Okay, so we've just finished off a little blue section, say, and where we would at this point add a silver linking bead, this is where I would then use the silver that's actually on part of my star. So pop your needle through. Okay, as before, I'd reinforce that link by coming back up through and then back down. Okay, if you're happy with that, you could actually get another thread pass through that. It'd be more than capable with these seed beads to get your thread through there a few times. Okay, and watch your bead thread. Your thread does not catch on your star, because you've got lots of pointy out bits on this star. It will want to do that. There we go. Okay. So we've reinforced our little link here, and at that point I would pass my needle through my beadwork, pick up the bead thread pattern, and then come out either on this exit point here or maybe this one here, depending on how my beadwork is falling. But I think that would make actually a really nice long dangly earring. And what you could do to make it extra sparkly, if once you've completed, you could pop a crystal in the center as well, just as you bring your bead needle and thread down, pass through the center and just add a nice little sparkly crystal. And I think that would be rather pretty. So hopefully you all enjoyed that today. Let's pop back to the screen for a second, and yeah, hopefully there's lots of ideas there. So maybe even you could pop them on and have a little stud earring. You could glue it onto one of those flat bases for the stud earring piece you can get. And I think, yeah, that would look quite pretty. You could have a dangly bit and another star at the bottom as well. So, yeah, lots of ideas. It's just going with the flow and seeing how you get there. Until you tied those knots, you can undo it again. This little element doesn't take long to bead up. So if you do make a big mess of things and you really don't like what you've come up with, cut the thread and rework it. Make some more stars, and so they don't take very long. You could have a complete multicolour star piece necklace, big necklace, with all the beads that are included in those bundles. And you should go and have a look at that now for you. And they are so pretty. So here we go. We're into the Bead Spider website. Well, I am. Let's find you. There we go. Technology. Oh, I might get good at it one day. So here's today's project. If we click on here, and then we can watch it again should we wish to, or we can pop down here and see all the bundles. So we've got two beautiful bundles put together for you today. We've got this beautiful sapphire star beaded stars. £14.10. I think it's an excellent price. You say you're getting the 6 colours, 6 strands of beautiful glass pearl beads. You've got the 2 colours of the size 10 seed beads and 1 colour of the size 8 seed bead, and you do get 20 meters of the spider long thread. Okay, and then we have the spring solstice and beautiful colours. I mean, this is really spring, isn't it? This is like the daffodils are just coming to life, and then we've got the dainty little pansies and all those gorgeous little flowers that are coming out now, and the garden centres are enticing us to come in and buy. Absolutely beautiful. So that's £14.60 for this bundle here for you. And again, you get the 6 strands colours, 2 colours in the size 10 and the 1 in the size 8, and 20 meters of spider on thread. However, this is what I would be doing. I'd be buying both bundles, and then I can have a really good play with all those colours. And that is £24.40, which I think is amazing. That's a really good price. 15% off there for both of those guys. Okay, the other thing I would then be doing, I'd be scrolling down through all the seed beads, deciding what seed beads, or maybe a different coloured pearl that's not quite in that kit, but you can't live without. I'd be adding them to my basket, and then I'd be having a good old shop around the Bead Spider website and popping a whole load of things in my basket because I'm addicted to beads, I think. And if you've enjoyed today's tutorial, please like and share and subscribe, and then you'll get all the notifications coming your way. We pop emails out to you guys if you join on the website and you look at the subscribe, and you can get an email. It'll give you a notification of the tutorials coming up and what's involved. It tells you when we're going to go live. I think it gives you about a 5-minute warning email, just say, hey guys, we're on our way, don't forget. So there we go. So hopefully you've really enjoyed today. I've loved teaching it to you, and it's been great, all the comments coming in that you've all been enjoying it as well. It's really nice to know. And I was going to show you, thank you Irina, I made similar snow for Christmas. I forgot I hadn't shown you that one, had I? Let's come back a second, bear with me. Alternatives, here we go. So this was the one that come out a bit more like a snowflake. So if that's more your thing when you're on the website buying your bundles, pop in some bicones as well, because that's really the only difference on this one. Okay, I've kept the same pattern with regards to the beads on this middle. There's white opaque beads, just sort of stand out with the others. But that's same idea. So you could have a starry night necklace for the ball for Christmas, if we're lucky enough to get to any. This version, again, the centre is the same. I've just swapped it out for some, these are little fire polished. They're slightly smaller than the pearls. I'm going to say they're more sort of a 4mm fire polish, but you can see the same design works. It's just what you choose to add on here. You could choose to have the original design with the pearls and a different colour pearl for each spike. And certainly if you're putting them all together on the bracelet, you can use them like charms on a charm bracelet as well. That would look absolutely beautiful with lots of different colours. And those bundles have been put together really nicely, so you can just pop them all together and have a real spring one, or maybe a real ocean one with the blues and the greens. Absolutely beautiful. Just a few hellos and thank yous, guys. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to pop a text, and it's lovely. Arena says I'm addicted too. I can't help it. Just I can never have too many beads, honestly. Monica, yeah, I really enjoyed watching you doing it. So beautiful. Thank you, Monica. That's it. Simple design. I hope you'll take it with whichever direction you choose to go, but it is a nice, simple design for you. Dulcie says, thank you very much for a brilliant tutorial. Thank you ever so much. It was lovely to hear. Thank you. Poor Pearl says, lovely demo. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, and the crafty happiness always. A snowflake coloured in this bag. Thank you. So let's see how many little stars get made. It'd be lovely to see all the combinations that you guys come up with. Carol says, have you heard from Matthew? He's doing all right. He had his 4 molar wisdom teeth out last Thursday, I think it was. He's got over that bit okay. He's obviously struggling with talking a little bit for the last few days, and he's been looked after by Jermaine, who I believe is making him soup every day. Yeah, she's obviously a better nurse than I would be. I'd be like, you can make your own soup. But there you go. It's in the tin. I would make a bad nurse. So he's doing okay, guys. I will be back with you next Tuesday. So that's the 28th of March. I got the right date this time, Mum, as you pointed out last time. Okay. I'm not sure what's going to happen on Friday. If Matthew's feeling up to it, I dare say he will try and get here and do something for you. But yeah, it's quite a big thing he's gone through to have all those teeth out in one hit. So that's it for me. Have a lovely week, and hopefully we'll see you Friday. If not, I will see you next Tuesday for another little design and hopefully be inspiring for you. Don't forget to take photos of any of your creations you come up with and pop them on the Facebook page. I'd like to tune in and see what you've all been up to. It's really nice to see what's going on in there. And we shall see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.